Hey everybody, and welcome to the first of many How to Paint Your ABC Warrior Increase the Peace starter set. We are going to kick things off with the Hammerstein, which I tried to give him a black primed undercoat, but as you can see, I obviously didn't wash these well enough. So I'm going to hit them up with a little bit more primer, and while we're doing that, we're also going to do the base in Dawnstone, which will give it a nice grey basing. I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to see what I can do with the actual bodies. Now, I mentioned this probably in one of my earlier videos when we did the unboxing of the set. These guys need a good wash. They are covered in the resin release agent, so if you can give them a good bath, it will just make life a lot easier for you. As you can see, the black primer I used struggled in some spots. Now that could be because I didn't angle it correctly. It could be 100 other reasons. Maybe there's resin in there, maybe I just didn't hit the paint properly. Whatever. So, step one, we are going to cover the models in Leadbelcher. This is going to give it a nice dark base to start off. I decided not to go back in and prime. My reasoning is I need to see if it was actually just an error on my part with the way I primed it, or if it's a release agent problem. And I feel like the Leadbelcher as a base color will show up if it doesn't sit properly. So we're going to work our way around. Take your time on this. There's no rush. You want it to be nice and flat. And the way I'm doing it, I'm just picking a section at a time, and I'm going to work my way all the way up to the top. And we're going to do that with all three robots. So I'm just going to show you each one. After doing the first one, I realized I needed the head to dry first so that I could actually touch it to use it as an anchor point. So we're going to start with the head on the second one and work our way down. And then on to number 3. I swap back. I have no idea what I'm doing. As long as the model ends up with a nice base coat of Leadbelcher silver, I think you are on to a good starting point. I then grab my Army Painter Drybrush and the Stormhost silver. These robots are very silver. They're bright, they're colourful, they've got a slight tint of like a bluish green to them, so that's going to be fun trying to work out how to do that section. But ultimately the Leadbelcher did cover the blank gaps that I had from the black primer, so it was obviously the angle that I'd primed at. But yeah, I'm just going to run this bright Stormhost silver over it with the dry brush. It's hard to see on the camera because they're very similar colours, but it definitely brightens it up. I'm trying to leave all the dark recesses dark. That just gives us the idea of shadow. And I'm going to be honest, this is a quick video. It's going to be around, 2-3 minutes probably in total. I would say each figure took 10 minutes start to finish. 30 minutes for the whole set. There isn't a lot of paintwork to this. This is the hardest part, which we're now into. So grab the Plasmatic Bolt and the Medium, which is going to thin it down. And I pretty much did a 50-50 mix. So I'm just going to splodge out a ton of this. Really go for it. I've got 3 models to cover, so you need a good chunk of it. And then I am going to pretty much add the same amount of medium. What I want is something that's really runny. I don't want a bright blue going down on it. This is mostly going to end up in the recesses. This is more of a shading effect than actually covering the paint completely. Make sure you give it a good mix up. Now moved on to a shade brush. And as you can see, it's not done a huge amount to the colour. It's still nice and bright, but it's going to run a lot more on the figure. So I'm starting with the head because that has the most detail. And at this stage, I was questioning all life decisions. I was very worried that I was messing up the model. First time doing this. I don't normally paint so much metallic on a model. And trying to do these washes like this also kind of freaked me out, but it has given me the idea that I'm going to obviously have a few squads of Hammersteins. So I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll paint them all the same way, but at this stage with the wash, I'll use a different colour. So the next squad I might use red, and if there's a third squad, I'll go purple. That's how I'll be able to tell the different squads apart. They are a real nice model kit. They've got good detail to them, even though they're just robots. You can change up the head. There's only 3 head options, but at least you can do different head on a different body each time. And the arms do have a ball socket, so you can pose the arms differently. Like for me, I've posed this one as if he's lifted his hammer to shout. And he's like cheering into the air. Other people I've already seen have the head tilted the other way and with the arm out straight, so he's like charging at a foe. It's very interesting how people are going to make these models, and I'm very excited to see how they do them. If you guys want to share your figures with me, hit me up on Instagram. It's Adventures with Peps. Give me a like over there and a subscribe. While you're at it, you should also like, subscribe to this video if you made it this far. And we will be able to share all these ABCs. If you're really keen, I'm happy to share them on this channel. So let me know. I think it would be cool to start doing a community showcase. Especially if you've used my paint guide. My figures. If you've used my paint guide, I'd love to see how it worked out for you. So make sure you are sharing all these details with me. I know a few of you have been chatting away, which is wonderful. I do love seeing what you're up to, and I love sharing it. So make sure you're dropping comments below, telling me where I can even find you on the internet, because I will happily come over and follow you. I love reading, watching, seeing more and more 2000 AD figures. Right, I think you get the idea of what I'm doing now. It's just slow and steady. I'm going to try and avoid the gun. I have a plan for that later. But you just got to make sure everything's got a good solid coat of this on it. It's very green looking. This is, I think Mediocre Hobbies said it best. It's the ugly stage before it starts looking good. To be fair, it's not a terrible look to the model, but it's definitely not one I would want. That's my final piece. But you'll see when we get to the next stage that we are going to fix it up. Maybe we should just finish this leg. I can stop chatting for a minute, get this leg done. We can move on to the next step. Right, I think we got a good coverage on it. He's looking a little bit green. I don't hate it. It's just definitely not the look I'm going for. Maybe we do that for future sculpts. Right, we're going to finish up the base because the other 2 warriors are still drying up. And I don't want to rush this process. I don't want to get fingerprints on it. So I'm just going to slap Agrax Earthshade all over the base. This is a nice dirty step. And with that complete and drying on the other models, we are getting into the Stormhost Silver once again. So we've gone back to an earlier paint. We're going to get the Drybrush out again, and we're going to go over all the model. This time I've got less paint on the brush. I'm trying to sweep in a clean circular motion as best as I can. I want to make sure the blue is showing through at the end of the day. So it's just being patient, less paint on the brush, more controlled strokes on it. I'm going to work my way around the model until I'm at a point that I'm happy with. Don't have to go too hard, because like I said, you want that tint to show through. But at the same time, you'll still want to be too gentle and have a green robot at the end of the day. So we'll repeat the process across all the models, and I'll show you how it looks. Now it's time for one of my favourite steps, the Nazdreg Yelllow. I love using this over a metallic paint because it creates a bronze goldy effect. And we're going to be using that on the chest piece, as you can now see. We're also going to use it on the belt that he has going around his waist. And then also across the shoulders at the top there, I don't know if you can see it at this point, but he has ABC Warrior written across the top there. So we're also going to be picking out that. On a couple of the other models, they have badges on their hammers. They have the badges in different locations. So make sure you just take your time to look around the whole model, work out what you want gold, and just pick it out nice and slowly. This paint does a great job on the model. Doesn't take much work, and with the green slightly under shading that it's got, it really helps with the yellow when it comes to giving it the extra depth. Up next we have a real fiddly part. We are doing the eye lenses, which I want to be blood red. I find it a nice vibrant red, so we're using the speed painter. Nice sharp point on the brush, and we're going to delicately try and locate the eyeball sockets. As you can see, I am starting to lean into the camera. Comically, they are tiny eyeballs on such a well-sized model. But it's just gentle swiping. We'll do that on the next two models and hope for the best. And with that, we are on to the final step, which is the CLoudburst blue. I'm using this as gun casing instead of using black. So we're going to pick out the repeater that he's armed with, plus the wheeled track shoes that he's got. I'm just going to pick out anything that would look like the weapon casing and leaving silver for the magazine and the actual barrel of the gun. You could probably go more in depth if you wanted to and do heat damage on the barrels from prolonged shooting. These are high powered pistols, but I'm quite happy with the way it looks. Now, rule-wise, these are your generic ground troops of the Hammerstein units. They come with a wrist-mounted pistol already and the hammer, and then these pistols that they're holding in their hands cost an extra notoriety of 2 apiece. Now, they're not terrible weapons. They are pretty good, but whether they're worth 2 apiece, I'm not sure. So the second squad I'm going to do aren't going to have the pistols. I'm going to try and showcase the wrist-mounted weapon. I'm going to have to find some little tubins or something to stick on their wrists to make it look like they're shooting from them. But I've got to see how these pistols work. I really don't know if they're going to be worth the extra 2 points, because these models are already expensive game-wise. They come in at for 3 models, you're looking at 11 points, and the pistols are +2 each, creating a total of another 6, so you're looking at a 17-point unit when fully equipped. And I'm struggling to see the value. I haven't read the rulebook yet, so I might be missing something, but the wrist guns, for example, range 8 +2 to hit, long range 16 -2 to hit, whereas the pistol is 8 +2, long range 16 -1. So the pistol's better at shooting. They're both power 4. And that's about it. It just says wrist guns may not be used with another weapon in the same hand. So if you have the pistol, you can't use the wrist things. And I don't know, is the pistol actually worth taking? In my brain, it's not. They're both high power. The wrist mount is a repeater, so -1 to hit long range, which we can see already in the stats. I really don't know if it's worth taking the pistol. I'm going to have to read the book and get back to you on that. If you've read the book and I'm missing something, do let me know in the comments. But as it stands, I can't see the value in it. I just can't see it. So we're going to finish these models and I'll whack up some photos, and I hope you enjoyed. Show me your results if you paint some up using this scheme. If not, show me your results of how you painted them. And until next time, cheers for watching.